Have you ever had a dream where you died?
You mean like where you're in danger?
No, where you actually die. You're being killed or something.
No. I usually do the killing in my dreams.
And number 2 is Catherine. Now, this is without a doubt the weirdest and yet most awesome game on the entire list, in my honest opinion. This is one of those games that is just known for its difficulty, but at the same time, it's not really that well known. And it shocks me to hear that about this game. This game is another great masterpiece developed by Atlas. They made Trauma Team last year, which I loved so much, and then this game that came out in 2011 just proves that these guys know what they're doing, and now, thanks to that, I am a big fan of Atlas. I mean, there are so many good things about this game. Number 1 is the story. The story in this game is the best story out of any video game on this entire list. The different choices that you can make that affect the story work so well and are so fun to see how they play out. One of the only disadvantages of that, though, is you get different types of monologue depending on which choices you make with Vincent, but just besides the monologues, there's no different changes in dialogue. You can be a total asshole to one of the girls on the phone and be completely nice to another, but they're still going to text you back and say, "Oh, I love you so much." And that doesn't make any sense. You're being a complete asshole to them, and yet they're saying, "Oh, you are the perfect guy that I've ever met." And to me, I would have loved it if they put more effort into that little thing, because this game did it incredibly well when so many games nowadays try to implement this idea and just fail at it massively. One of the things that this game is known for, though, is its difficulty. I will go and say this is the hardest game I have ever played. Even on easy mode, your first time through, you're gonna die a lot. And the thing is, whenever a person says that the game is, just incredibly difficult, I never really have a hard time with it. This is the only game that's ever been the exception to that. I mean, honestly, the puzzles in this game are so well designed, and in my honest opinion, they're better than any puzzle in Portal 2. All the puzzles in Portal 2, you could take your time on and say, okay, this is how this works, this is how this works. And Catherine, you're being pushed. You're saying, okay, I solved this puzzle, alright, on to the next one, because I have to survive. And you're constantly on the run. And to me, that just makes a more better experience, and speedrunning is even more fun than it is in Portal 2. And one thing this game has over every single other game on this list, or even all the games I played in 2011, this game has the best soundtrack I've heard in a very long time. You have different pieces of rap, you have these classic orchestra songs that have just been remixed with rock and roll, and just all these other different types of music that are just so incredibly catchy. This game has so many different types of material for it, and to me that's what made it just so much fun to play. This should be on everyone's top game of 2011 list, but so far I've not been seeing it anywhere on the list, and it's making me so sad inside to see that when all the effort that was put in this game is just so well done, and yet it's overshadowed by all the rest of the competition. But if there's only one thing that's keeping this game from being number 1, it's the replayability. If there's one thing I've said about video games, and I'll say it again, the most important thing is replayability. Because you put all this effort into this game, you gotta make sure people are gonna come back and replay it again and again and again. And sadly, you can do that up to about 2 times after you beat the game once. But afterwards, not so much, because you already know the story at that point, and even though this game has different types of endings, they're pretty much like, okay, you got the good ending, but there's 3 different versions of the good ending. You got the bad ending, then there's 3 different versions of the bad ending, and then there's just one completely neutral. Well, there's 2 endings for either one. And so when you get really, any of the 3 endings, you kind of know how the rest of the game is going to play out. So that's one of the major things that hurt Catherine, but I will go and say this is a game you have to pick up if you haven't. It has a great story and just such an experience that you will not get from any other game that you played in 2011, and that is why I'm going to put it at number 2.
In conclusion, I humbly accept this award for subduing the insidious light-eating Zagroot against near impossible odds. How's that sound?
Quark, doesn't accepting an award for something you didn't do make you feel the slightest bit deceitful?
That depends. Does deceitful mean impressive? Heroic? Awe-inspiring? Fine, I don't care what it means. We're talking about a light-eating Zagroot here. You know what this will do for my approval rating?
I never even heard of an Intergalactic Tool of Justice award. Who did you say invited you?
I don't know. The guy was all cloak and dagger on the phone, but I'm sure the whole thing's on the up and up. Look at him, peacefully slumbering in the warm embrace of cryo-sleep.
I don't know about this. Maybe we should call Kronk and Zephyr.
Oh, Ratchet. So young, so unused to the spoils of do-goodery. Don't worry. When you're a hero, you'll understand. House lights?
And number 1 is Copernicus Quark's awesomely epic 3D adventure through time and space, aka Ratchet & Clank, all for one. Now, this may come as actually a huge surprise because for anyone who knows me, I was bashing this game left and right. And when I finally sat down to play it, this game did not only prove to me that Ratchet & Clank is still alive, but it also reminded me why I'm a fan of this series. Ratchet & Clank is one of my favorite series of all time. And to see a little bit different way of playing the game than what the normal style is, honestly isn't a bad thing every once in a while. It's a nice change of pace from like all the upgrading stuff that was in the past Ratchet & Clank games, and it's a very unique idea. The comedy in this game is, without a doubt, one of the funniest dialogues writing I have ever seen in a video game to date. Yes, Wheatley in Portal 2 had a lot of great lines, but Ratchet & Clank, the writers for Ratchet & Clank are fucking geniuses. I mean, there is so many moments in this game, I had to pause the game. I was in tears from laughing so hard. Honestly, this is possibly the funniest game I've ever played in my entire life. Another thing that you should know about All for One is the co-op feature. If there's one thing I love in co-op is when it has a lot of replayability behind it, and this game does that perfectly. The co-op in this game is great. It's phenomenal. This is what I want to do with co-op. I want to be able to have, you know, fun, and there be chaos all over the screen while we're still trying to help each other, and this game got every single piece of that right. The weapons that you get to use. Yes, there aren't that many weapons in this game compared to other Ratchet & Clanks, but they're still incredibly fun to use, and especially when you get two teammates to use the same weapon on one enemy, you get that very cool slow-mo effect with that explosion that never gets old, no matter how many times you do that. And also, for the first time in a Ratchet & Clank game, I can finally say I love this game's soundtrack. One of the only things about Ratchet & Clank that I have never been so spot on about is its soundtrack. Yeah, there are a few tracks here and there that are okay, but they're not, say, Steve Copeland worthy of Insomniac music. This game finally gets that nail right on the mark, so that way we finally get a good soundtrack for Ratchet & Clank that is both catchy and great to listen to. The bosses in this game is some of the best boss battles I have ever played in any video game. I will go and say, even some of the boss battles in this game are better than a lot of them in Skyward Sword, which was my game of the year. The bosses in this game have so much high replay value and are so much fun to fight. I gotta say, probably my favorite boss in the entire game was the King Seapad, or whatever his name was. You don't just start off by, you know, fighting him regularly. No, you start off by jet skiing away from him while working your way back to a light tower where you will fight him eventually. And then it's just such an awesome boss fight. And not even that, I mean, there are so many moments in this game that is great to look at. The gameplay is very fast-paced and all that stuff. It's just incredibly fun. And that is one of the most important things in a video game, is for me to have fun. With high replayability that this game gives, great soundtrack, great boss fights, a great community to play online with, this is the game I think that deserves to be on everyone's to-get list, because this is one of those games that just by looking at it as a Ratchet & Clank fan, you may be turned off immediately, but give it a try and I'm sure you will see the merit that a Ratchet & Clank is in this game, and it is totally a nice welcome addition to the series. And that is why I'm going to place Ratchet & Clank All for One as my game of the year that wasn't Skyward Sword.